What's up, everybody? This is Sal on the SNS Show. I'm here with Sid two-time. We're about to talk some 49er news pre-draft. Get excited. There's a lot to dive into. What's up, Sid? How you doing?
Not bad, yeah.
I'm good, brother. So there's a lot of news coming out of San Francisco pre-draft. A lot to be excited about. The 49ers have so many needs heading into this draft. This is the draft, if you will, for John Lynch and the 49ers. They need to hit on this draft. It's probably the most important draft of his career. Maybe his first one would have been just as important, and we know what happened with that one. And the Niners can ill afford to miss on their first two picks. You know, I liked the Reuben Foster pick back then. I didn't really like Solomon Thomas. This one cannot be Solomon Thomas. It's got to be Jalen Walker. It's got to be a guy that's going to make an impact right away.
Yeah, I agree. I didn't like the Solomon Thomas pick right off the get-go because of his size. But listen, I think the Niners are going Jalen Walker. And it's something that we've talked about before, where if you have a player in D. Winters, and D. Winters could play third downs because he has good coverage skills, and Jalen Walker could rush on those third downs because that's what Jalen Walker does very well. I think the Niners know that, and I think they're looking at Jalen Walker as that's a no-brainer pick for them.
Yeah, and let's imagine that Jalen Walker, for some reason, isn't there at 11. I think the 49ers still have to go edge. There's guys like Mykel Williams, another impactful player at the spot. And Shamar Stewart, I'm not a huge fan of him because of the lack of production, but the one thing that goes unannounced when it comes to Shamar Stewart is the fact that he had the most pressures out of all collegiate players last year. Yeah. So yes, he didn't get the sacks, but he was causing problems. So that's still a guy worthy of the spot. Now, Baldinger, I have a lot of respect for, especially when it comes to the front seven and, D-line. He knows his shit, and he's speaking highly of a guy named James Pierce, who reminds him of a D Ford, and he likes to think that Robert Saleh is the kind of guy that would want James Pierce at that spot. I'm not a huge fan. I think it's a bit of a reach. If you could trade back and get him later, I think it makes more sense. But the big news coming out of San Francisco is this right here. The 49ers are talking about trading into the top 6. Now, I believe what you're going to get at 6, you can get at 11. What you can get at 5, you can get at 11. What you get at 4, you can get at 11. Now, the worth, if you're going to trade up, it's only worth it if you go in the top 3, because now you're talking Abdul Carter and Travis Hunter. So if the 49ers are talking about trading up, I don't believe you trade up unless those two guys are on the board.
Yeah, I think what it comes down to is, like you said, those top 3 players, if you could get one of them, it's worth the trade up. I don't think we're going to trade up into the number 3. You have a lot of holes to fill, and you have to give up a lot of picks to get up there. So I don't think that's an option. Talking 6 or 5, it's a possibility when you have the 11th overall pick. But are you really going to get a big-time difference maker that Jalen Walker isn't? How much of an upgrade is that player going to be over a guy like Jalen Walker? I could argue that that's a worse pick than Jalen Walker. I don't think the trade-up would make sense.
I don't want to trade up because I don't want to lose picks. And the reality is the 49ers have put themselves in a position where they need a lot of players. And the way they're going to do that is this draft, because free agency, let's be honest, is pretty much over in the sense that anybody that's worthy of signing has been signed. There's a few guys out there still. There's one guy that I keep my eye on, and that's Samuel. The 49ers have a need at corner. It would make sense. He's young. It still fits the narrative of, going younger. Yeah. But if the 49ers want to get back on schedule, they need to hit on this draft, and they got to hit on a lot of them. And the amount of picks they have benefits them, and losing those picks to move up 5 or 6 spots just doesn't make sense unless you're getting Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter. I'm against it. I don't trade up for Mason Graham. Jalen Walker, if you land him at 11, I almost feel like you're already jumping off to a great head start. And there's no reason to feel nervous about. The only thing that scares me is if Jalen Walker's gone. But again, there is still Mykel Williams, who's a legit edge rusher, a legit problem on tape, makes a lot of plays. He's all over the place, and he's playing with a lot of aggression. So there are other options. I do believe you want Jalen Walker at 11.
Okay, so let's have some fun. Let's say the Niners swap picks with the Raiders at 6, because it is realistic that the Raiders would trade down if they're taking Ginty. If they have their eyes on him, they might think he could get him at 11. So if the Niners go up to 6, who's the player?
Well, to be honest with you, if they go up to 6, it means that they think that Jalen Walker could have been taken earlier, maybe, or they're going aggressive after Will Johnson. And Will Johnson is a corner that is known as a lockdown style corner who makes a lot of plays. And, he probably will be gone in the top 10 picks. I'm pretty sure he will be. I keep seeing it in mock drafts. I'm a believer that when you have a lockdown corner in college, that's kind of where they go if they're, considered elite. You're going to see Travis Hunter go probably 2 or 3. And the reason being is, yeah, sure, he can play some receiver too, but he's going to be asked to play corner in the NFL, I believe. I think priority 1 is corner, and then he's going to be asked to, help out on offense.
Yeah,
it won't be full time.
No, he just said this week that he'd consider retirement if he doesn't play both ways. So he's playing both ways. It's a fact. But
I don't think a player should be saying stuff like that before the draft. I understand he's an elite talent, so he's probably comfortable in saying that stuff, and the NFL teams will probably respect it in the beginning. But the reality is, the NFL is a little bit different than college. There is no B player; they're all A players. A B player in the NFL is an A+ player in the college. So he's going to find that out quick. That when he's tired, he's not the same. In college, he can get away with it, but the NFL is a little bit different.
Yeah, I agree. So Will Johnson at 11. I don't know how I would feel about that. I'm excited that our secondary would look pretty damn good. Like regarding instead of the safety sort of question marks, but at corner, you got 3 good players now. But I'm still opposed to it. I think just wait at 11. Take Jalen Walker if he's there. If he's not there, you have guys like Michael Williams, who's going to be good in the NFL. Just wait it out. Save your picks. This year is not the year to trade up. This year is
yes. And when they get to 11, if a team is willing to trade back, like the Niners are, that makes more sense to me. Get more picks. Yes. As long as you can get if Jalen Walker's there at 11. And you think that if you trade back to say 14 with the Colts or 15 with the Falcons or something like that, and you could still get them, maybe that would be crazy. But if you can't, there's still guys that are pretty similar. I do think Jalen's a bit better, but there's similar guys. Yeah. And now you're talking an additional pick, and it makes sense.
Yeah. Now, if you pick up another second round pick, there's a lot of potential stars in the second round this year, especially in that front 7. So.
Right. So the 49ers have still been unable to sign Brock Purdy. And, a lot of people are talking about that the 49ers are not even close to signing Brock Purdy as of right now. And one notable person is Grant Cohen. He mentioned that the 49ers are not close to signing Brock Purdy. So it raises a lot of concern that the 49ers and Brock Purdy are not close. The agent is maybe still sticking to his guns because he understands what it means for his career to get Purdy signed at a big number. And this could hurt Purdy because if Purdy misses any time, Mac Jones is going to soak up those first team reps, even if it's OTAs and guys are, in the classroom. It's still beneficial for Mac Jones, who's learning the new offense. And we know that Kyle Shanahan's offense is very quarterback friendly. And, he can make Mac Jones look pretty good. And that would be problems for Brock Purdy. So Brock Purdy needs to sign this deal, or the 49ers, I want to say, should trade Purdy prior to the draft if they believe they're not going to be able to bring him down to the number they're looking for.
I think the 49ers know that Purdy's eventually going to go down. I don't think he wants Mac Jones to step onto the field. I think if anyone in the world knows that Kyle Shanahan could turn an average-looking quarterback into an elite-looking quarterback, it's Brock Purdy. So, yeah, I agree. He doesn't want Mac Jones to step onto the field. I think the Niners know that, and I think that's why this is waiting. This deal's waiting to be done. He's going to drop that number. He doesn't want Mac Jones stepping on the field.
The thing I love is what Jed York said is that, Brock Purdy's a top 10 quarterback with Kyle Shanahan. And it's a very accurate statement. It's true. He's a debatable top 10 quarterback with Kyle Shanahan. Without Kyle Shanahan, that's another debate. And that's a whole nother topic and a whole nother discussion, because it's true. Without Kyle Shanahan, who creates a lot of things for a quarterback to make life easy on him, would he be able to stand in the pocket, do the 5 and 7 step drops, and scan a field and consistently move down the field? It's another
Well, we
topic.
found it out last year, didn't we?
And I do believe we did. And I think what we saw last year was a guy struggling, in a sense that Kyle Shanahan, for the first time of me watching him as a 49er head coach, leaned on the quarterback almost like a Matt Ryan type of lean.
Yeah.
And Brock Purdy let him down a little bit, and that's partly Kyle Shanahan's fault, because he should just stick to what works, whether he has that quarterback or not. Let's stick to what works. Still make life easy on a good quarterback. So going forward, Mac Jones has an opportunity here, if Brock Purdy doesn't sign, to work his way onto the field. Now, I don't believe the 49ers want that, but I do believe they brought in Mac Jones because that was Kyle Shanahan's guy. And for whatever reason, Kyle Shanahan really likes Mac Jones. I'm not a huge guy on Mac Jones, but do I think he could work with Kyle Shanahan? Let me tell you this, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, like, has Mac Jones had a successful career in the NFL so far? Not really. He went to the Pro Bowl 1 year as an alternate. But does it apply a little bit of pressure to Brock Purdy? 100% it does. 1,000% it does. So, yeah, it was a strategic move as well as a Kyle Shanahan. That was Shanahan's guy. So it was a smart move for sure.
Yeah, make no mistake about it. Mac Jones was brought in, one, because Kyle Shanahan liked him from the beginning, but number two was a lot to do with Brock Purdy and pressuring him into signing the deal that they want. And I think that number starts with a 4, not a 5. And if it was a 5, you best believe that Brock Purdy would have signed by now. And the reason why he's not signed is because it is a 4 in front of that number, and he's not willing to budge as of yet, or at least his agent is not. And that's where we're at. And if Brock Purdy holds on to this and pressures the 49ers, you never know. Maybe they do trade him.
Yeah, so let's talk about this. Puka Nacua. Okay. Says the 49ers shouldn't pay Purdy in the $50 million range, and the Super Bowl window closes if we do. Now, I think this says a lot about what the other players see in Brock Purdy. It's similar to what we see in Brock Purdy. You have a ceiling, you have a limit, and your limit isn't as high as a lot of guys that are getting paid in the $50 million range. That's just the truth. Like, if we talk about the LA Rams game, just something as simple as a little bit of rain comes and your quarterback struggles in a game where he needs to win. That doesn't sound like a guy that you're going to pay $55 million to. And that's
that's actually my biggest issue with Brock Purdy, is that Brock Purdy, when the weather gets, it's not a beautiful sunny day in California. When that happens, his game goes down. And it's a fact. I've been there. I've been at games live multiple times in bad weather where Brock Purdy doesn't live up to Brock Purdy football. No. And the reason being is he's a smaller guy with smaller hands, and that's the facts. So what Puka is saying here is pretty accurate. And I always believe the peers know the best, whether your teammates or the peers that you play against. They know your true worth. And, nobody's going to dispute paying a guy like Patrick Mahomes or Lamar. All of them will speak highly of those guys and say they deserve their money. Now, the reason why there's a little bit of pushback on Brock Purdy is not that he's not a good quarterback. We all know he's a good quarterback. He's just not an elite quarterback, so don't pay him like one. It's simple.
Yeah, like, once you start talking money, the reality sets in. Like, Joe Montana has high praises for Brock Purdy. Steve Young has high praises for Brock Purdy. But if you go up to them right now and ask them, would you put the franchise on Brock Purdy's shoulders? What's their answer going to be? You know what I mean? We love Brock Purdy so much, but when it comes to putting the franchise on his shoulders and paying him $55 million, how quick are you going to do it? I don't want to do it. But I'm a Brock Purdy fan. But that's just how it is. You can't. You're asking too much out of a guy like that. Simple as that.
We got a fan asking us, what is your expectations for the 49ers defense against the Lions and other good teams this season?
Well, that depends on the draft.
To be honest with you, right now, the 49ers defense is so bad, especially because you don't have a front to talk about. Now, what they do in the draft is going to determine how I answer this question. But if
Okay.
the 49ers go defense heavy with their first 3 picks and address the trenches and the edge, then it's debatable because we have a great coach. Do I expect them to shut down the Lions and other great teams? I really don't. The 49ers are going to be up against it when they go against a team like the Detroit Lions this upcoming season. I think this year is all about building on for 2026. So this draft is very important to maybe win a wild card game this year or get to a wild card game. But this draft ultimately will determine how the 49ers look in 2026.
Yeah, you're talking about a team like the Lions with a run game like that. That's like the Niners' worst nightmare coming into 2025. If you're talking about a team that's primarily a passing team, like I'm not going to say the Niners would do well against the Buffalo Bills, but a primarily passing team, then it wouldn't be as bad. But it's a fact the Niners need to address the front seven in the draft, and they need to do it really early. Because if they don't, a team like the Lions will embarrass them.
Yeah, the 49ers right now are not a team to even speak of in terms of threatening a team like the Detroit Lions. The Detroit Lions are a nightmare for the 49ers right now because any running offense, is probably licking their chops looking at the 49ers roster. I can't even, when you go to the front seven, you got Fred Warner, who's a boss. But outside of Fred Warner, you got Nick Bosa, and that's it. You know what I mean? Like D Winters is a guy that's going to have to prove himself this year. D line outside of Nick Bosa, you got Elliott, Givens, Matos. It gets real thin after that. And so the draft is everything for the 49ers this season. I think the 49ers understand this. And I think, 11 picks right now might go up because they could trade back. But I think the 49ers will address D tackle and edge early. Now, whether or not the pressure of getting an old tackle, because you got to expect the fact that Williams is probably going to get hurt. Trent Williams is probably going to get hurt. He's old. There's even a little bit of rumors out there that he could retire. And if he retired, that would hurt pretty bad too. So I think the 49ers first address the trenches on the defensive side, then the offensive side. And, if some way, somehow we can land a corner in between all of that, would be fantastic. I've seen guys talk about getting Andrew Makuba. Andrew Makuba might be a stud, but let's be honest, the 49ers have bigger needs. They got a guy that they drafted in the second round, Jair Brown, who had a good start to his career, fell off a little bit last year. He's got to regain he's got to get on the right track again. And it's possible. At the end of the day, he was looking good as a young guy. He had a bad year. He's got to have an offseason to reset that. And guess what he's got? He's got an offseason in front of him. So he's got to do that. Now, this came up, and I really, really find this interesting. And the reason why I say that is, what is your take on this? Would Kyle Shanahan have won last year on the Eagles?
Okay. I get the Eagles are extremely dominant. That defensive line, I agree with what everyone says. They won the game. Okay. I get it. But Shanahan has struggled against the Chiefs. That's a fact. It's happened in 2 Super Bowls. He struggled. Now, if you put him on that roster, the thing I don't like about Kyle Shanahan is he struggles to get players open downfield. And I don't know if it's because he's nervous of throwing a deep ball or because he's been lacking the talent, which is a fair argument to make. He doesn't have the greatest deep threat at receiver. But that was a big deal in the Eagles winning Super Bowl as well. Like Jalen Hurts throws a nice deep ball. A.J. Brown's a sick deep threat along with Devontae Smith. So now if you gave Shanahan those players, I don't know if the results would be the same. I don't know. I honestly don't know. But if you're talking about the defensive side of the ball, my argument is Kyle Shanahan had a defensive line with D Ford, DeForest Buckner, Eric Armstead, and Nick Bosa against the same Chiefs. Not the same roster, but the Chiefs.
Tyreek Hill wasn't on that team, but keep going.
He lost. Okay. So that's a very similar front.
One thing we know about me is that I'm a defensive guy. I played professional football. I played on the defensive side of the ball. I was a safety. If you're going to honestly tell me that 31 other coaches, I'm going right there this aggressive, don't win that Super Bowl when that D-line is playing like that, they should not be in the NFL. So it's a sad argument to come tell me that Shanahan would not have won on the Eagles last year. Now, if you want to talk about the lead up to the Super Bowl is a whole nother discussion, because getting to the Super Bowl is a one thing. And maybe he doesn't get to the Super Bowl. That's an argument. Mm-hmm. But if you're going to convince me that Kyle Shanahan doesn't win that Super Bowl the way that D-line played, it starts to, it's pretty silly. It becomes a silly argument.
If I pull up past 49er Super Bowls, we're up 10 against the Chiefs in the second half.
We've never had a defense play at that level.
Listen, man, if I pull up a past Super Bowl, let me get to my point, where the 49ers have been up double digits in the second half, and I were to tell you Shanahan's going to find a way, not just lose the game. He's going to find a way to lose the game. You would have called me crazy. But guess what? Shanahan not only gives up a 10-point lead, but goes into overtime, and he found a way to lose that game.
He definitely screwed up.
So he can find a way to lose the game, even with that Eagles roster. Regardless of how dominant they're playing, Shanahan can find a way to lose the game. That's what he does.
Okay. No, that's not true. Shanahan doesn't find a way to lose a game. He just doesn't find a way to win a game. That's his issue. Is in the fourth quarter, Shanahan takes off the pedal. And that's been something that's haunted him all the way back to the Atlanta Falcons. When you have a team down and out, you need to put them right out. And he seems to think the clock is going to do it for him, but it doesn't. Mm-hmm. And he loses. So the 49ers win the Super Bowl if you put that Eagles defense on the 49ers and let's just put Shanahan on the Eagles. If Shanahan is on the Eagles and his defense is getting turnovers in the red zone and getting pick sixes to the house like the Eagles did, and constantly putting Patrick Mahomes under pressure and making Patrick Mahomes look everything but like Patrick Mahomes. He looked like any quarterback you want to name him that's trash in the league. He looked like trash. Now, Patrick Mahomes is not trash. Make no mistake about it. Defense will make you look bad if they can get pressure on you with rushing 4. If there's nothing crazy about the scheme. The scheme was simple. It was a 4-man rush. There was no disguise of who's coming. It was the same 4. So as an O-line, you couldn't ask anything easier. That's what the 49ers did all year, and they had no success because they didn't have the right players for it, and the coach sucked, to be honest, on defense. So if I can rush 4 and I'm a defense coordinator and I can do whatever I want behind that because I'm getting crazy pressure, I'm going to shut you down, okay? And NFL coaches will do the same, whether it's the D coordinator in Philly or another D coordinator. If you can rush 4 all day and get pressure, there's no reason to blitz. There's no reason to disguise who's coming. They're dominating. And that's what happened. Kyle Shanahan could do that too. Any coach could do that. But getting to the Super Bowl is another argument. But if you're going to give me that performance, the outcome is going to be the same.
Hey, Nick Sirianni has his hands in the defense a lot more than Kyle Shanahan does. Shanahan only puts his 2 cents in when the defense is or the D coordinator is literally just giving up the game. So, listen, Kyle Shanahan is not a head coach. Okay, so you can't. I'm sorry. History tells us you can't guarantee Shanahan to win any big game. You cannot. He's had roster sell. You're talking like
he's had rosters. There's no argument there.
He's had rosters better than Nick Sirianni has ever seen up until last year.
That's not true. No, Nick Sirianni had a pretty damn good roster the year they lost as well.
Yeah, he did. Okay, 2 years. Shanahan's had him for how many years? 5.
That's not all I'm saying is the dominance of that defense in that game.
Okay.
It doesn't matter who's coaching, you're winning that game.
That's not true. I'll tell you why. Okay, I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why. We always talk about how Robert Saleh is a massive players coach, correct? And he makes every player around him play better, correct? Nick Sirianni is very similar to that. Nick Sirianni is a players coach. The players play for him. Shanahan does not give. There's been a lot of talk about Nick Sirianni and his players not playing for him, not liking him. There was talk the one last year because they fell off. That's the only time we heard that talk. Up until last year when they fell off a cliff, we did not hear that talk, and we didn't hear it all last year. So it's easy to kick a guy while he's down, but the fact is he is a player's coach. The guy's going psycho on the sidelines. The players love it. That's what Robert Saleh does. Shanahan is a robot with his head down. I don't think you could have a conversation with Shanahan on the sideline unless he walks up to you and approaches you. Okay, so that's not a coach that defensive players are dying to get on the field and get a sack for.
No, the defensive players on San Francisco 49ers are playing for the DC. And when you have a trash DC like we did last year, that's the outcome.
Correct. But the defense in Philadelphia is playing for Nick Sirianni. A part of it.
There's no argument that when a coordinator is the head coach, it affects the team, in my opinion. I've always said that. I don't agree with the coordinator being the head coach unless it's a defensive coordinator. But when it's the offensive coordinator being the head coach, it's never good because they're diving into the playbook while the defense is on the field. They have no input on game management. They're just so focused on calling their next offensive play. Whereas the D coordinator is constantly reacting to an OC's personnel. So that determines what he's calling. So he can't predetermine what he's going to play. He needs to play based off the offensive coordinator. So it's a little bit different. I just want to talk about Rick Diaz here. Rick Diaz says, of course, Kyle is screwing up all the time in the regular season. I do not trust the man. Listen, I will say this. I've been a fan of the 49ers since 1990, since I was 5 years old. And I was always watching guys like Steve Young, Jerry Rice, T.O. on offense. And on defense, I was watching a bunch of studs and whatever. But getting to the Super Bowl was an issue after Steve Young. And we never got there until Kaepernick came and we got that year there. But one thing I'll say about Kyle Shanahan. With Kyle Shanahan as your head coach, you will never have a team that is straight garbage. You'll never have a team that doesn't go to the playoffs unless, listen, it just happened this year and it happened a couple times when he first took over. But it happened last year. Let's be honest. Injuries were an issue, a massive issue. But the defensive coordinator was not an NFL coach. And that's where Shanahan messed up. He hired that guy based off friendship, is from what I understand. Yeah. So Shanahan has gotten us to where? An NFC championship, and you lost your quarterback. 2 Super Bowls. Another NFC championship that he lost to the Rams. So how many coaches in the league have that kind of success? Not very many. Now, sure, he had the roster. I'm not going to dispute that. The Niners have had great rosters. There's no argument there. But not a lot of coaches can do what Kyle Shanahan is doing. And it's because, and keep in mind, there's no elite quarterback on this run. At any of these runs, there's been no elite quarterback. So that tells you the skill level of Kyle Shanahan and how great his plays are, especially his run game. You know, we beat the Green Bay Packers with 9 runs.
Yeah, listen. I think Shanahan's a huge advantage. Having Shanahan is a huge advantage. Okay, I'm not saying fire the guy. I'm not his biggest fan, but I'm not a hater either. Shanahan helps you win games. It's a fact. But is Shanahan a head coach? No. I think he plays a part in creating a great roster. So you could give him some credit for that. Just like how you give John Lynch a lot of credit for that. So Shanahan gets credit for that. He scouts these players as well. He's picked great players too. That he's had a hand in picking great players in the draft. But to say Shanahan would have just won a Super Bowl, I think we need to.
I don't say that he would have got there because I don't know that. I'm just saying if the defense played the same way they did that game,
I don't think they would have. I agree. Okay, listen, I agree. It's really easy to win a game without a defensive play. My main argument.
That's my argument.
I agree. I just don't think they would have.
If Robert Saleh was the coach, and
if Robert Saleh was the coach, then I believe
Shanahan's the head coach, and Saleh's okay. Never mind that. Shanahan's the head coach. Same DC.
Same DC as Eagles.
Yes, Vic Fangio.
Okay, Vic Fangio. He's not a player's coach either. Vic Fangio. I don't think he's a good DC at all. I think he used to be back when the NFL was more basic.
He wasn't a good DC then. I'll tell you why I say that. He's been the same guy. He rushes 4, and his front 4 is high talented players like Alden Smith. When he was coaching the Niners,
right? We
had Alden Smith, Justin Smith, Ray McDonald, and Ahmed Brooks. These guys make a DC look really good if you're only going to rush 4 and show 4. I don't believe in any scheme where you should show 4 and rush 4 every single play. You're making life easy on an offensive coordinator. It's too easy.
I agree. So, listen, I don't think he's a great DC. I don't. And he's also not a player's coach. That's why you have to give a lot of that credit to Nick Sirianni. As much as I dislike Nick Sirianni, because I think he's cocky as hell for no reason, he is a player's coach. That's a fact. he lights the match the same way that Robert Saleh is going to hopefully light a match for us this year. That's a big thing in football, man. It's a big
100%.
thing.
No, I won't dispute that. Now, Ryan here, or sorry, Ryan, Ken here says, sorry if I mispronounced that. No coach is perfect. They all make mistakes. We can't be quick to fire dudes like that. Bad orbs, organizations. The coaches need the chance to rebuild and develop new players. So I think me personally, it's way more than that. Kyle Shanahan has proven himself to be a head coach in this league. I mean, the success speaks for itself. Ultimately, the ultimate success is winning the Super Bowl, and he's yet to do that. Can you legitimately say that Kyle Shanahan can't win a Super Bowl? I mean, come on, man. He's been going against the best quarterback every time he's gone there. And that's a shitty deal. But like you said, Nick Sirianni won. But there is a big but. That defense played unbelievable, and that's a big reason why the Eagles won.
Yeah. Okay, the reason I'm against firing Kyle Shanahan, and I've been on and off about this, but when you think about it, if you fire Kyle Shanahan, that means you're saying there's 32 coaches in the world that are better than him at head coach, which I disagree with. There's not. So Kyle Shanahan is a head coach in the NFL. Okay. The question is, how much of the shit could you put up with? You know what I mean? How many great rosters is he gonna just make disappear? Like, we've had some sick rosters, dude, but guess what? No one's gonna remember them because we never won a Super Bowl with them. It means nothing at the end of the day. If you don't win a Super Bowl, you remember the bad parts. You remember the parts where Shanahan gave up the Super Bowl. You remember the parts where he didn't do enough, or a certain player didn't do enough. It's not always on Kyle Shanahan, but he didn't get it done.
To me, I'm not willing to let go of Kyle Shanahan because the reality is, as a 49er fan, when you tune in and they're constantly going far in the playoffs, and sure, it hasn't resulted in a ring yet, but that success is not by fluke. It's not by mistake. Kyle Shanahan has a big hand in that. Now, as a guy that has a defensive background, one thing that always stands out to me when you're watching Kyle Shanahan really clicking is that you cannot guarantee what he's going to do next. The plays are all over the field. It's spread out. The only thing that the 49ers have lacked is the 9-ball. And that's something that if we could get a player to help us on the 9-ball, now his offense is fully spread over the field. You got screens. You got play action. If you add the 9-ball, now the run game is as dominant as it's always been. You add all those dimensions, it makes it very hard on a defensive coordinator to scheme them up and stop them. And this best scheme that I've seen to do against the San Francisco 49ers is to play man and bring pressure. And the reason why I say that is because we do not have the 9-ball receiver. And Brock Purdy is a shorter quarterback. And when there's pressure in your face, it affects you. And that's why you blitz the A gap against the Brock Purdy. You need him to get his eyes off of downfield and on you, and the feet start running. And that's when his ability to buy time and stuff needs to become a factor. And if he's unable to do it, the 49ers start to look pretty bad.
Right. So Ahmed YYC says, do you think Shanahan's offensive scheme is the problem, or is it more personnel not executing? Now, you were just talking about the 9-ball. The 9-ball is a problem where the 49ers haven't had an elite quarterback. So it's not just receivers. There's receiver problems there. We don't have receivers that are great at 9-balls. I think Ayuk's capable 100%, but he's not a complete deep threat. But at the end of the day, we also have never had an elite quarterback, and that hurts the 9-ball too. Like Brock Purdy doesn't have a strong arm like Jalen Hurts does, so he's not going to throw a nice 9-ball that Jalen Hurts can. So it's a mixture of receiver, quarterback, and a mixture of, it's not Kyle Shanahan's offensive scheme. It's maybe Kyle Shanahan knows the limitations of his players, and that's why we don't try as much as other teams.
I just want to respond to this because this is kind of what I was saying about Kyle Shanahan. I don't think the league is caught up to Kyle Shanahan. I think Kyle Shanahan was his own worst enemy this year. And the reason why I say that is because Kyle Shanahan started to lean on Brock Purdy a little too much. And he went away from what he's good at. And what he's good at is a great run game with a play action off of it. Instead, we went to a 5-7 step drop team and asking the quarterback who's not elite to try to be elite. And Brock Purdy's a good quarterback in this league. Make no mistake about it. He's a very effective quarterback. But under the circumstances of where he is on a 1 or a 2 read type of play, do not ask him to go to his third read. And actually, his first read is not a type of play where the guy's wide open either. Now, the 49ers scheme up so many things where you get a Brock or a George Kittle underneath who's uncovered, and he gets his room to get his yak. Same with Debo at the time. And Brandon Ayuk would win his one-on-ones, stuff like that. Now, this past season, what you saw was there was no Brandon Ayuk. Debo Samuel was 20 pounds overweight, unable to get open. And Brock Purdy was dropping back. And this was like true one-on-one coverage. Occasionally, the Niners would get some zones and he would find the zone and he would hit it. He's pretty good at that. That's probably his best attribute. But you just don't want to lean on a quarterback that's not elite. Shanahan made the mistake of doing that this year. He needs to go back to his creativity. There's one game that will always stick out in my mind of how clever Kyle Shanahan is. And if you guys don't know this game, if you don't remember it, just go watch the highlights. It's a game in New Orleans back in 2019. And I was at that game, and that was the game of the year.
100%.
And he drew up plays that the NFL should still be talking about. That's how good it was. And we just don't look like that anymore. And it's sure the players were fantastic all around him at that time. And it was Jimmy G. But Jimmy G looked like, top 5 quarterback in the league in that game. He's making throws, but the reality is he was making life easy on him. And 100%. You can make him look way better than he actually is.
Yeah. Let's talk about this. Is there a possibility, because we just seen Shanahan's creativity completely fall off the cliff last year, like just completely fall off the cliff. Is it a possibility that this was all just an elaborate plan to find out how good Brock Purdy really is? Like, let's put the game on Brock Purdy's shoulders and let's see what he can do. Because we know what he could do with Kyle Shanahan. We know what a lot of quarterbacks would be able to do with Kyle Shanahan. Let's find out what Brock Purdy can't do without Kyle Shanahan. Let's see what Brock Purdy would look like in a Cleveland Brown offense. Or, like honestly, is that a possibility? I don't think Shanahan turned stupid overnight.
No. See this here by Ken. I'm sorry, man. If the Niners were to do that, I would be the most angry 49er fan there is. The 49ers are not going to get back on schedule by getting Genty. They're going to get back on schedule by getting that defense that used to dominate. And the way you do that is you attack the trenches. The Niners need to focus on the trenches. That's the reality of it.
Yeah, the 49ers aren't one player away. They're not that one Christian McCaffrey away from going to the Super Bowl. Right?
No.
So getting Ashton Genty does not help your chances at doing anything really except for a possible disappointment because running backs get injured. And a little bit of no, that can't happen.
Losing a pick in order to get Genty as well is just crazy. There's no way the 49ers would be willing to do that. The 49ers are going to address the trenches on the offensive side and the defensive side. I just pray that they start on the defensive side.
Right.
Okay, so we were looking to do a mock draft.
Sorry, I just wanted to reply to this real quick because you're talking about the Brock Purdy thing. It wasn't them sacrificing here because this didn't start at the beginning of the year. This was already when the year was sort of going downhill and they were dealing with a lot of injuries. And it's not really guaranteed sacrificing year. It's maybe let's possibly find out we have an elite quarterback. They don't know what the result is going to be. So I
think the play calling really resembles what you're saying because, like I said, he stopped calling his creative plays. It was more basic football, trying to find out can a quarterback make shit happen without the assistance of the coach. That's what I saw.
Yeah, I agree.
So yeah, let's do a quick mock draft here and then we'll shut her down. So basically what we're going to do here is we're going to draft the way we think the 49ers should draft. We're not going to draft the way people think the Niners are going to draft. Because if I do that, then I probably got to take a running back in the second or third round.
So we're going off what exactly? What we would draft?
Yes, I want to go off of what I think the 49ers should do as opposed to what they may do. See, the 49ers might actually draft the running back in the third round.
Yes.
I'm not in favor of that. I think we
Right.
just stick in the trenches in our first 4 or 5 picks based on what's out there. But, you know, I think the 49ers need to address the trenches. It's a fact. The Niners need to address trenches. There goes Jalen Walker. Wow.
And Will Johnson at 6. Jalen Walker at 8 is very possible. So what do we got here? Let
That you see, if this happened in real life, I would do it.
1,000%.
Yeah.
But let's reject.
Yeah, we're not going to do trades, but that's what I would do if that was real life.
Okay,
So he wanted to trade back for Genty. Well, here's Genty available. Highly unlikely. I don't think he will be. So the 49ers here, in my opinion, in real life, probably go Banks Jr., which would piss me off.
I mean, okay, what are your other options? Because there's still Michael Williams, which you could say is a little bit of a reach at 11, but we know the Niners like him.
Mm-hmm.
And there's Shamar Stewart at edge, and there's no D tackle that you could take at this point without completely reaching. So, yeah, I can see Calvin Banks happening here.
But I'm gonna go with what I would do or what we would do, and
Right.
it's either Shamar Stewart or Williams. And
yeah, I just want to point out, sorry, that this is the sad reality of what the draft could look like if Jalen Walker goes before 11.
Yeah, I would be pissed. This should be Jalen Walker all day long.
Yeah.
But for whatever reason, they took him at 8. And I've done a bunch of these, and he's usually there at 11, but he's not this time. So I would go Mikael Williams. The reason why I say that is Shamar Stewart, sure, he had the most pressures in college, but the guy had 1.5 sacks and 2.5 on his career or something like that, which is, it's concerning. You need to be able to finish. It's not just about pressures. You need to be able to finish. It means that for whatever reason, when he gets there, he's not making the tackle. He's not tackling the quarterback. And I'm a fan of Mikael Williams. What do you say?
I mean, yeah, we already have both that kind of finish often. So let's take Michael Williams. I agree with that. This is kind of saying it's a reach. I disagree with that. I think he's going top 50.
Yeah, so do I. I don't see how he falls. But I've done a bunch of these, and he usually goes at like 14, or 15. So this thing just does whatever it wants, really. There's Shamar Stewart going at 15. So technically, that usually is Mikael Williams there.
Right.
I don't think there's a chance the Bengals are taking a receiver. That's pretty bad.
Campbell's a stud, just went at 19.
So if I'm thinking the way I'm thinking is there's Derek Harmon on the board, Walter Nolan, and is Kenneth Grant still there? Yeah.
Should be.
So yeah. I have to trade up if we're down to just one guy left. Right. You just ride it out until.
So there's Harmon.
There's Walter Nolan. So now we're down to Tyler Williams and Kenneth Grant. So there's still 2 more left.
Yep. Need one of them.
We need one of them. The Niners need to address. They have to address D tackle. If they do not address D tackle early, guys like the teams like Detroit Lions are just going to laugh.
Tyler Williams just went. There's Kenneth Grant left, and that's a lot of picks, so it's not looking good.
No, oh wow. Yeah, see, like you have to trade here. It's too risky. It's too risky to let him go.
Yeah, you need one of them.
So unfortunately now, let's try a 4th round pick for the following year. Still no go. We're going to try a 3rd. I wouldn't do this. That's crazy. A 4th round pick would work, I think.
Not next year. I don't think that would work. I think you'd have to give up a 4th round pick maybe this year.
Well, we're going to try to hold on to those picks.
Okay, so let's do.
We're going to do a 3rd of next year and see what that does.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay.
So the 49ers are going to go trenches here. It's a must. Oh, crap. I didn't realize there's one more pick. Could you imagine they take Kenneth Grant? Holy crap. That would have sucked.
They did go ahead. Okay, so Kenneth Grant's a stud. I want him or Walter Nolan. Those are my top 2 guys. I don't think we have a chance at Harmon. Harmon's a stud. I just don't.
Yeah, no, he's gone a long time ago.
Yeah,
and I would be surprised if the Niners were able to get Kenneth Grant in the 2nd round. If they did, it's a great pick.
Yeah, now let's not forget Deion Walker. So if Deion Walker, maybe we didn't have to trade up, but then you settle for Deion Walker. But I know right now we're thinking maybe we have a chance at him in the third round.
So for those of you that are watching, Deion Walker is my prize pick of this draft. And the reason why I say that is he's not expected to go in the first 2 rounds. And this is a 6'7", 331 All-American who was an All-American throughout except last year. So the fall off of last year has dropped him in this draft. And I don't care. I believe a guy can come back off of one bad year. And the 6'7", 331 causes a big problem for teams running on us. And if this is the pick, then that fan of Detroit that was mentioning what will the Niners look like against Detroit, if you have Kenneth Grant and Deion Walker stopping the run, we might have another discussion.
Yeah, it's a big deal, dude. If you could stack that front seven like that, this year automatically gets more exciting.
Yeah. So it's going to come down to what the 49ers do in this draft, but we're doing what we believe they should do as opposed to what we think they're going to do.
Yeah, we're whispering in John Lynch's ear right now.
We're doing what they should do.
Yeah. Okay, so we just threw John Lynch out the building.
Well, I have no problems with what John Lynch has done as a GM. Obviously, there's some decisions.
There's always going to be busts.
Like Trey Lance was the worst one. Solomon Thomas. Reuben Foster, because of his off-field problems, became a problem and didn't pan out.
No. I put no blame on it for Reuben Foster. I would have done the same damn thing. Okay, what do we got?
That's not bad. Going back 8 picks.
For a 123, it's not bad. But let's reject it for the sake of rejecting it. Is Deion Walker there?
Of course he is. So if this is real life, I think the 49ers are going Cam Scatterboot, to be honest.
Yeah.
I don't think it's right. I think the 49ers should only be considering a tackle on defense or offense right here. And this is an intriguing pick in Cameron Williams. I think that's a good pick in this point right here. But I think Deion Walker is somebody you can ill afford to lose. And look at this is all you got to see right here. 6'7", 331. This guy's been a beast throughout his whole career. Last year was a little bit of a drop-off, and that's the only reason why you see him that low on the board. Otherwise, this guy would be in the first or 2 rounds.
Yeah, don't get it twisted, man. Just because we got Kenneth Grant doesn't mean we don't have a massive hole still at D-tackle. There needs to be 2. There has to be 2.
Yeah, because we don't see like the 49ers, what would happen to their defense with these 3 picks is now you have a defense. Like I just don't feel like the 49ers could really have a fair argument in saying that the Niners defense could be good this year until you do something like this and get 2 players like this in the inside and a true edge player, whether it's Jalen Walker or Mikael Williams.
Yep, I agree.
But 2 guys in the weight of 331 in the middle, it's not going to be easy to run on the 49ers anymore.
So now I think this is where this comes into play. I think the 49ers should target an offensive lineman to protect their quarterback and improve the run game. I think it happens here. I think it should happen here. Right, second pick of the 3rd round. This is where you take a tackle.
I agree. This is where I've usually taken a tackle in all my mock drafts. There's been a time where I did take him that last pick and took a gamble on getting Walker at 100, but I've learned that it doesn't work. So you take Walker because I'm going to be honest. I think Deion Walker is going to enter this league and be a major problem from day one. And just mark my words right now. Remember the name, Deion Walker. He will be a problem.
I mean, he looks like one. That's a big human being.
Yeah, the 49ers have had success with guys at 6'7", 2 notable ones, DeForest Buckner, Armstead.
Yeah. Okay, what do we got to tackle here?
Okay, so Charles Grant has been a guy that I've picked many times before. There's been high regard on this guy. He's supposedly really athletic. And, it's funny. It says right here, has the ability to succeed in the NFL. If you watch
Mhm.
his tape, he's got unbelievable feet. He struggled sometimes against guys that bull rush him, but at 6'4", 311, he's pretty damn big. He's just got to get coached up by an NFL coach, and you never know. Maybe they could turn this raw talent into something much more than that. So when you have the athleticism at 311, that's something you can work with. It's when you don't have athleticism at 311, that's hard to work with. And this is
Yeah,
somebody that they could coach into being somebody.
yeah, yeah, I like it.
So basically the 49ers, if this was our draft, the only thing I'd be upset about is not getting Jalen Walker at 1.
If that's Jalen Walker, and as long as it's Kenneth Grant or Walter Nolan at 2, and then you get Deion Walker, man.
Yeah, like those 4 players, that's a lot to be excited about if you're a 49er fan.
That's literally. I feel like we had 3 first-round picks if that's our draft. I'm not gonna lie to you. Those are 3 first-round talents, in my opinion.
Okay, all draft, I've been saying there's one running back that reminds me of Jahmyr Gibbs, and this is him right here. This guy runs a 4.3. He's great at catching.
That was your idea, right? Jahmyr Gibbs. That was your comparison. Okay,
That's something that I've been saying for a long time, and somebody else happened to say it. But the truth is I've been saying this for a long time, and the reason why I say that is when I put on the film and I see a guy capable of busting it out any play, any given play, whether it's in the air or on the ground. This is the biggest threat coming out of the backfield in terms of how to call any point in any time in the game coming out of this draft. This is the guy. Now, don't get me wrong. Ashton Genty is more complete, and he's a true 3-down back. This is a guy that if you mix in with Christian McCaffrey, typically you want to mix in a bigger guy to give a 2 different pace kind of running back. This guy on 3rd down and 5, if McCaffrey needs to come off, he's able to come out of the backfield and cause a big problem for a linebacker to cover him. So, and we all know Shanahan wants a back here. This is the pick where Shanahan's going back. He might even do it the pick before this, but we know for sure he ain't going any further than this. I would agree with this pick.
Does this guy have receiving abilities?
Yes.
Okay.
This is what I'm saying. Like this guy is a problem out of the backfield, and he's a problem,
So he's a Shanahan guy.
He's a Shanahan guy. He's not a Cam Scatterbu who's big. This is a true Jahmyr Gibbs, and there's a 3-pound difference between Gibbs and him. The speed is pretty damn close. This guy's a problem.
I like it. It's a good round for a running back at the end of the day.
Exactly. You're getting a player that's going to make a difference late in the draft, and this is a guy that's going to make a difference.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and if Christian McCaffrey can't stay healthy and Isaac Guerendo's kind of playing that Deebo Samuel role that we could kind of maybe expect, they're gonna use this guy's gonna get touches. Whatever rookie we take is gonna get touches, and
Isaac Guerendo is going to have a year. Isaac Guerendo is going to have a year. This guy is another guy that's what I think Guerendo's 230 and he runs a 4.3. So the 49ers have done their job when it came to getting Isaac Guerendo. That was a really good pickup.
Yeah, man. So, but like I said, yeah, if Christian McCaffrey can't stay healthy, then expect the rookie to get some touches this year. I don't think there's anything to be excited about in Patrick Taylor. I think we've seen enough out of him last year, so this rookie's going to get his touches if McCaffrey can't stay healthy.
I'm sorry, Omar, but I could not prioritize a wide receiver on a team that has no defense as of right now and drafted a receiver in the 1st round last year. You just can't do it. If the 49ers were crazy enough to do it, I'll be honest, I'd be pissed.
I agree.
So I like Malachi Moore. I like Teddy Buchanan, but the Niners do need a corner. They definitely need a corner to go along with the 2 studs that they have.
I agree. Let's click on the corner and let's see what there is.
So the Niners are high on Noel Williams. They've talked to him. I'm pretty sure he was there for the pro day in San Francisco, the local pro day. And this is a man corner. He would probably play the outside, and which would mean Lenore could still come inside on a three receiver nickel set. So it it's definitely a player the Niners could take. Is it a bit of a reach at 138? The next pick's at 147. I know the 49ers are high on that guy's teammate, which is Teddy Buchanan, and he's right there. Malachi Moore is another guy I really like. But I think the 49ers need to get Jair Brown going.
Okay, I'll interject a little bit. We got to remember we didn't get Jalen Walker, so we got a straight edge rusher in the first round. So that leaves a hole.
That is true. That is true.
So
yeah, we're so used to having Jalen Walker. That's true. I think Teddy Buchanan's the pick here.
Yeah, and maybe we address corner the next round because there is still a hole there at linebacker. And a lot of teams are on Teddy Buchanan.
Say that again?
A lot of teams are high on Teddy Buchanan.
Yeah, oh yeah. The 49ers loved him, and they kept talking to him at the local pro day the 49ers held. And the biggest thing about Teddy Buchanan that stands out is he's an athletic linebacker, and that kind of resembles Winters, but Winters is just unproven on the run. In terms of the pass, Winters is an absolute stud. And the 49ers know that. That's why Jalen Walker would work so well, is if the 49ers could use Walker as the linebacker on first and second down and use Matos as a first and second down DN, and then bring down Jalen Walker to the edge and let Winters go out there and cover, it would work really, really well for the 49ers.
Yep. I agree. That's kind of what we're dying to know is who's the Niners' first round pick.
I think the 49ers take Noah Williams here. I really do. I think the 49ers want him. I think the 49ers are going to get him. It's just a matter of where.
Well, this is a good pick. This is right around where he's projected to go. And yeah, I think the Niners are really high on him. That's very realistic.
The question is, are the 49ers going to go this aggressive on defense? Like, we've just drafted every single player on defense outside of one offensive tackle and one running back.
Right. So, yeah, if we got 11 picks and I think if we take more than 4 offensive players, I think it's a mistake.
I would love Seth McLaughlin here at 160.
I think you get 4 offensive players. Okay, you get a tackle, you get a running back, you get they're going to take a receiver, probably late, hopefully late.
I think you have to take Seth McLaughlin here. I really do. You get your center that completes with Jake Brendel, who Jake Brendel's not a starter in this league. I'll keep saying it. I don't care if he's got, however many years of experience. It's been at the 49ers had a terrible red zone. They've had a terrible short yardage, and it has a lot to do with the center being pushed back. And Jake Brendel gets pushed back. It's kind of crazy to me in a Kyle Shanahan offense that his center is not a high-end run blocking, center. He just really isn't. He's very easily to be bullied. If you pay attention to him, he's not the strongest center. And he gets bullied, and the 49ers pay the price on short yardage. And he always pops on film. When you watch the film, he's being pushed back. So give him some competition. Seth McLaughlin, Ohio State.
And that's the last pick we're going to do in our mock draft. I mean, from there, really, it's just positional needs and best player available. I think we both agree on.
Now let's just go real quick through it. Mikael Williams, what he brings to the 49ers is a DN that's going to put pressure on the quarterback on the other side of Nick Bosa. Now the 49ers have the 2 edge players that they've, been going after for a while now. Leonard Floyd being the guy last year who did a pretty decent job. It's just consistent pressure wasn't there. He did get 8 sacks. I just feel like he wasn't an every down edge player.
Right. Yeah, we need more consistency because I don't think you get that out of Bosa and you didn't get that out of Leonard Floyd. But then again, Bosa's definitely capable. It just needs to happen.
Well, I think the way you help Nick Bosa is by putting other problems on the field alongside him. And that's kind of what we did with this draft. We got him another edge player on the other side of him. And then we really addressed D-tackle. You got 2 big men at 330 pounds each, 167, 163, and 2 guys that are proven D-tackles in college that cause problems. This is what the Niners need. Deion Walker will be the anchor. Kenneth Grant can make some plays, and let's go.
Okay, so then Charles Grant possibly not starting this year, but he's going to be like tackle's going to be a very big need next year. Still possibly this year if Trent Williams can't stay healthy or if Colton McKivitz is playing as bad as usual, then yeah, you need a rookie there.
Yeah, and Charles Grant might be the swing tackle if we draft him, because you have two guys that have already started in the league for a long time, especially Trent Williams. McKivitz, if he could beat out McKivitz, then McKivitz becomes a swing tackle. Yep. And then at guard, you got Ben Barch, Burford. So those guys would probably compete for guard. And then at center, we got a guy here, Seth McLaughlin, that could compete with Brendel. I really, really would be excited about Bashul Tutin. I really would be. I think you got a guy that's very similar to Jahmyr Gibbs there, and the 49ers offense just got more explosive.
Yep. Okay. And then moving on, Teddy Buchanan, he fills a role. Dre Greenlaw's gone. D Winters isn't a guaranteed starter in the league. Like, there's things we like about him, like we've said, but nothing's guaranteed with D Winters, and Teddy Buchanan's a guy that the 49ers are really high on.
Right. And then Noah Williams. The reason why I would love that pick is because Noah Williams plays outside. It allows Lenore to come back inside on nickel downs. And, that gives the 49ers the ability to do what they want to do, and that's have Lenore in the slot. And the reason why you want Lenore in the slot is because he plays it at a very high level. It's hard to find a slot corner. Yeah, we've seen the 49ers struggle at slot corner when there was a guy 2 years ago who's probably the worst slot corner in the league, and he costed us a lot of touchdowns. Yeah, man.
And it makes a big deal when a lot of these teams, their number one offense their number one offensive weapon is in the slot. Having a guy like Lenore is massive.
Yes, absolutely. So that's it for today, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Drop some more comments. If you guys are interested in something for us to talk about in the future, drop a comment. Let us know what you want us to talk about in the future. It's definitely something we listen to. We always listen to whatever people are interested in. But that's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And until next time, take care.
Thanks for watching.